This video is probably going to be up kind of late, and I'm sorry for that. Usually I film on Saturdays, and I try to get a video out Thursday or Friday, but I was at the club really late on Saturday, and then I had company over for Sunday, Monday, and I just did not have the time to film this. So really sorry. Nevertheless, we ball. I'm really excited for this episode. I think this is the episode where Yoshiki stabs Hikaru. I don't want to wait any longer. Let's just get into it. Doing it for his family. That is an addition. Even though it's not a perfect family by any means, that picture of his family is still representative of all he still has to lose. Family, messed up though it may be, they're the people that are still alive and that are important to him, and the people who are alive are more important than this shot at a second chance with Hikaru. If Hikaru is going to kill more people that he cares about, then it's not worth reliving that sorrow and that trauma over and over again just to have the facsimile of Hikaru. He didn't hear her. Was it the boys or was it just Maki? Oh no. This is all new. Aside from Yoshiki asking Hikaru if he wants to skip school, this is all new material. Oh, but Yoshiki's not here. Where's your sense of reason when you need it? It's such a terrible feeling when you've had a disagreement or there's some sort of tension with your friend and you kind of know that not everything is okay, but they're acting like everything is okay, and it just feels like something is about to blow, something bad is going to happen. But you don't want to push that, and you don't want to cause something to happen. It's this weird guessing game of like, let's try to act normal, but it's not really normal, and we have to hash something out before it can ever go back to normal. But crossing that bridge is hard, and it's dicey when you don't know how they're going to take it. That fake laugh. Dad, he's a lumberjack, timber worker. I see. He would have worked at the sawmill with Kohei, probably. Japan doesn't have truancy laws.
Correction. That made it sound like they don't care whether or not you go to school. That's not what I meant. That's not entirely true. It's more like there's not really a penalty for truancy. Education is compulsory for 9 years. So like kindergarten through 8th grade. High school is not mandatory though. Hikaru, I think, is in middle school, so she should still be going to school. But truancy in Japan is not penalized the way it is like in the States. You'd get CPS involved. It'd probably be a whole thing. As far as I know, there's just not really a punishment for skipping school in Japan like there is in other places.
It's going to be hard for her if she wants to put in the work to catch back up in later grades, but it's better that she goes to work with mom than stays home and does nothing or gets into trouble. And yeah, I wanna clarify that. I don't think it's bad that Hikaru goes to work with mom. I think that's better than a lot of other alternatives. I just think Mrs. Tsujinaka is very avoidant from what we can see. She doesn't want to address problems. She has an argument with her husband about, like, you don't care that Hikaru's skipping school, and puts that on him, but she doesn't try to get Hikaru to go to school. She's pushed that responsibility off onto him. Or like when Hikaru asked before the festival, Mom, I want to wear a yukata, her first response was, no, I would have to tailor it. That's a bunch of work. We're going to have to take it to Auntie Mikasa. And then Hikaru's like, but I want to. And so, like, mom ends up doing this nice thing for Hikaru, but she doesn't want to. And her first response is to push back on it and be like, no, I don't want to do this thing for you. Or when Hikaru's freaking out about the wig ghost, mom's like, it's fine. It's nothing. You're being crazy. You know, it's like, I just see in her relationships with all of her family members, her 2 children and her husband, a shirking of responsibility and rejection of their requests. I don't know. It's weird. The mom gives me a weird vibe. Dad too, but like absent father, that's a trope you see in media. It's not really anything new. But the mom just has a really weird vibe to me. And so even though we have these characters, these 3 characters of Yoshiki's family that are all unlikable in their own ways, but still somewhat understandable. And this episode is putting a lot of focus on all 3 of them. That's all new. That wasn't in the manga. Yoshiki's dad doesn't get any lines until like chapter 20 something like that. I don't think we ever even really see his mom, but they're expanding the roles of his family members who are these unlikable but pretty normal people. I think to show us that although Yoshiki does not get along with them, he does not want evil to befall them. His first thought after Hikaru banished the wig ghost was, what if this had happened when Mom and Kaoru were here? Or what if it had attacked Mom or Kaoru? Right? Would I be able to defend them? Would Hikaru have fought for them the same way he fought for me? And I love the complexity of it. I love that nothing is easy, nothing is very clear or black or white. Yoshiki loves his family. He does not particularly like them, but he is doing all this because he has to protect them. He feels a drive, a responsibility to keep them safe in some way because he is the one that may have put them in danger in the first place. And I mean, I know this because I've read the manga. He is planning to kill Hikaru today. And that is not something, that is not a decision he has made lightly. As far as everybody knows, that's normal Hikaru. And so what it's going to look like to everyone on the outside is teenage boy kills his friend in cold blood. If he succeeds in killing Hikaru and nobody can tell that he was a monster, the police are going to come, they're going to take him away. He could never really see the light of day again. And so this is not just an incredibly brave and difficult thing for Yoshiki to do personally, because this is Hikaru, this is his friend. But if this succeeds, it's going to ruin Yoshiki's life, his reputation, his relationships with everyone forever. But he has decided that is the risk I'm willing to take in order to keep everyone safe. Or he's planning it to be a murder-suicide, and he's going to kill Hikaru and then himself. Okay, choir sounds good.
Yoshiki とヒカルまだ来とらんよ。今日は休みなんかな。な。
Oh, did Asuka see this? Asuka knows that this is probably bad, given what she knows about Hikaru. But also, I think out of everyone here, Asuka probably has a somewhat functional gaydar. So this could be, they could be playing hooky for any reason. Yeah, he knows that this is going to separate him from them, and it's going to ruin his life if this succeeds. Oh, oh, that was a gorgeous cut. This is gorgeous. What they have chosen to do here, the direction, is incredible. This is the first time we've heard the full song. Over this montage of life and family. And one last day to pretend like it's all okay.
どうしたの？急に電話してきて。いや、
まあ元気かな思って。
元気だよ。
そうか、ありがとう母さん。
If I'm mom, I'm freaking out. That's so unusual. Like, that's a goodbye call.
父さんにもよろしく。
If I'm paying attention, if I'm mom, if my teenage son called me out of the blue and was just like, hey, are you good? Thanks for everything. Tell dad, take care. I'm like, oh, he's gonna go kill himself. Like, that's a suicide call. That's what that sounds like. That's heavy. I want to know what this episode feels like from the perspective of someone who doesn't know that Yoshiki is planning to kill Hikaru. Do you get a really sorrowful, scary sort of vibe from that montage, or is it just beautiful? Surely you must get the sense that something bad is going to happen, given the foreboding of it all. But wow. Episode 6 was already into the late teen chapters, and there's only 30 something chapters out right now. And so I was getting really worried that they're going too fast. But they're pumping the brakes and really padding this episode out because this is important. And they're putting all the sauce they can possibly load onto this thing to really give it the weight and the seriousness that it needs. This day of Yoshiki and Hikaru skipping school, I think, is maybe a couple pages. And they've turned it into half an episode, adding the family context, adding the school choir competition. I wonder if the author was a writer on this show, if they had to get the author's approval for some of these added scenes, or they wanted to try to work with the author. I don't know. Or maybe they didn't at all, and signing over your rights to an anime adaptation means you kind of just have to roll with the punches as an author and what they decide to cut or add, which is scary. I don't know how the rights and copyright law and all of that works in Japan. But if they did include the author in a lot of these additional scenes and for writing extra material, it wouldn't surprise me. And if they didn't include the author, job well done to whoever was tasked with adding extra scenes to balance the pacing or maintain a runtime or add more context, because I don't think there's been an added scene or extended scene that hasn't worked for me. A lot of adaptations just treat a manga like a storyboard and go one-to-one, and that's fine. That's focusing on accuracy, but I love when an adaptation can take a source material that's so lovely and great on its own, and do something new with it that doesn't betray the source material, but that can just expand and work with the strengths of a new medium.
息子さんにも見せたら喜ぶんやないですか。
喜ぶって年でもないし、息子とはほとんど喋っとらんよ。
そうなんすか。
Yeah, and whose fault is that? Is that yours, Dad?
難しくて。
兄ちゃん、いつにも増して声小さなかった？つうかあいつ、学校サボってない？
Yeah, Mom, get worried. Like, I just don't think that a kid dislikes a parent like that or goes low contact with a parent unless the parent did something, you know? None of my business. I don't need to know. But I'm willing to bet that Dad bears a whole lot more of the blame in this fractured relationship than Yoshiki does.
海行きたいんか？
記憶の中にもぼんやりある。ヒカルとは学校帰りに行ってたな。真冬に。ここ
Oh,
は山ばっかやからさ。また行きたいな。
the ending is a hazy Hikaru memory, and that's why it looks like that.
海。ナイスやろ？映画やろ？いろんなことを知るって楽しいわ。ヨシキもおるし。
I love this piano piece.
ええよ、海行こうな。今度。ただいま。
What's up?
今日の合唱コンの動画送られてきたに。
マジ？結構うまいやん。
そうやな。
俺も行けばよかったかもな。嬉しさよ友よ追いかけ回る虚しさよ。
死なんのな。
無意識。
俺が教えてやらんとって思っとったに。
今日最初からこうする気で。
最後くらい楽しい思いさせたろって。死なんのやったら殺してくれ。
それはお願い。なんかどうしたらいい。どうしよう式のお願い。なんか殺せ。
That was low. That was dirty. Hitting him while he's distracted, while he's singing. In the manga, it didn't quite happen like that. They were just hanging out on the bed, and it was kind of mid-conversation. Yoshiki just got him. This is so much better. I mean, it's worse. It's like the context for it is worse, but that's what makes it better. And this scene here in the show put a whole lot more emphasis on Yoshiki requesting to be killed. At this point in the manga, we don't really know yet about the Hikaru entity's desire to grant wishes or to grant requests. It's not like when something asks it to do something, it takes that as an order, but one of its core desires is to grant wishes, to be asked to do something and to do that thing for someone. So Hikaru's dying wish is don't leave Yoshiki lonely, help keep him safe. That's what Nonuki-sama does. Then Yoshiki's request, I want you to kill me, directly contradicts that prior request. So there's a pull, there's a desire for the entity to fulfill the request, but it's like, I don't want to kill Yoshiki. Does Yoshiki even really want to die? He asked me for that, but is this what he truly wants? I like that they added focusing on that language of a wish or a request, of granting that request, because that's going to come up in a big way later on. Yeah, for once he's not crying.
俺にとっての当たり前は人間にとっては多分怖い。もっとって俺の中身の
Ouch.
半分や。
Love how visceral that was. The manga panels make it look like he kind of just reaches in and like fishes around and pulls something out. I think that's called the xiphoid process at the end of the sternum. Yes, my anatomy knowledge is correct. It is the xiphoid process. The xiphoid process is near the solar plexus, which is where there's a bunch of a big nerve center there. There's a chakra there. The third chakra represents growth. So Hikaru pulling out half of his soul, stuffing it into his xiphoid process, solar plexus, center of the body, growth chakra, handing it over to Yoshiki and telling him, I don't understand, but I'm trusting you to show me how. I think that's really beautiful. And the disgusting, like, viscera, the screaming grossness of it all could be symbolic of the pain and the commitment that it takes to learn and grow. This is not just a physical gesture, here is half of me. It is a spiritual gesture, it's a symbolic gesture. He's saying, I'm willing to go through all of the pain of what it means to be human if you will just show me how. I don't understand, but I'm willing to suffer and learn and grow, and I need you to help me do it.
命の重さ俺にはやっぱりようわからんでもこれで簡単に
And defanging himself, right? Saying, I won't be a danger to anyone else.
なんでそこまでして俺に
自分が何なのかよう知らんこうなる前は感情すらなかったと思うねけど漠然と居場所がないって感覚だけはあって最初はさ俺は
But you
お
saw
前
me
にバレたら
for
殺
what
せ
I
ばええ
was,
と思っとった
and you didn't think that I was disgusting, and you welcomed me in.
結局お前は俺を受け入れてくれたよなその時初めて
For a creature whose desire is to grant wishes, I felt like I was allowed to be here. Oh man. Allowance. For the first time, I felt like I was allowed to exist. I was allowed to be here. That is something that I think resonates with far more people than would care to admit it. I think all my life, all my childhood, I grew up feeling like I wasn't allowed. Wasn't allowed to do what? I don't know. I just felt like I wasn't allowed. And that'll make you crazy. Feeling your whole life like I'm not allowed to be here. I'm not welcome. I don't know these people. I'm not like anyone here. There is something fundamentally different, maybe something fundamentally broken with me. And if anybody knew, they'd send me away for good. I don't see a lot of people talking about how it can be freeing, it can be joyful to find a place or people who do make you feel welcomed and allowed. But nobody really talks about how confusing that is too. Like what do you mean I can just be here? I don't have to earn anything or fit myself into a mold and it just gets really, really confusing before it can become liberating.
お前は俺の居場所になってくれたやろ
今の刷り込みやんそんなん
それでもええに俺にと
Let's
って
take
は
ibuprofen together.
それでも
こいつが命のことをようわからんのも当然やそれでも俺は俺はどこまでもお前に付き合うよたとえ俺の
Even if something inside me breaks. Okay, that is foreboding and probably predictive.
あかん存在なんやと思うせやけどお前の望みがここにおることなんやったら
Trail of blood wherever he goes. The creatures crawling to his blood like ants. Oh, yes. Fantastic. Give me 14 of those right now.
お前が一体何者なんか
Yes. 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 Cinema is so back. They took 4,000 creative liberties with this episode. And they were all liberties well taken. I'm just kind of speechless. I think this is very apt that they just let the black and white credits roll. And that sounds like Hikaru singing. That's really nice. There's a phrase that gets tossed around, self-recognition through the other, where you don't recognize something in yourself, a trait, a vice, a habit, whatever it is, until you see it in someone else. And you realize, oh, I do that, I exhibit that. Often it causes annoyance. Oftentimes the things we recognize in ourselves, we don't like reflected in other people. Other people that are very similar to me, I find completely insufferable. And I think a lot of us are like that. But this show, rather than self-recognition through the other, it's more of like self-acceptance through the other. self-acceptance through the monster, self-acceptance through acceptance of the monster. I don't think it's too crazy to say that Yoshiki maybe would have never been able to begin to accept or love himself until he had practice accepting and loving someone way weirder and way worse than him. And it's now that he realizes, I have loved and accepted Hikaru for what he is, despite my fear, despite my disgust, despite the uncertainty. And it might take a while, but he is going to see his reflection in that. He is going to realize, if I could love this thing that is definitely not human, that has killed a lot of people, that doesn't understand anything, but has this similar experience to mine, feeling unwelcomed, feeling like an outsider, feeling not allowed, feeling like you don't belong. But I want it to belong, and I love it, and I believe in it, and I'm willing to fight for it. When he's had practice with all of that, whether he recognizes it or not, that is going to affect him. That is going to start turning inwards and changing how he views himself. This is a fantastic show. I think this is a history maker. I think in the next few decades, people will still continue to look back at this piece as not just a really good horror show, but it'll be making those lists of anime everybody should watch. History maker, pun intended. This is going on the shelf next to Yuri on Ice. No, forget I said that. I just think it will stand the test of time and become a classic.